Hey, and welcome back to Smart Marketing. This week we're going to cover Scrapebox. We're going to talk about the Google Maps plugin and some real-world scenarios, both for doing local or specific data scraping by business type and by location, and some real-world applications on how we can utilize that to make money with GSA website contact. So let's get started. This is Smart Marketing. I'm your host, Big Dom. Let's go. Okay, let's take a look at Scrapebox. So, we're going to go up here to our premium plugins, and the Google Maps Scraper is an additional premium plugin, has to be purchased separately. And this is our interface, okay? Now, other than I changed the number of results per keyword to 200, I left all of the default values in for the delays, okay? And I believe I checked this shuffle proxies. Okay, now whether I get 200 or not from the Google Maps, I'm not really sure, but it was a safe number. You load all of your proxies here. Where it says business type, you're going to basically do it like a search in the sense that I did one for churches and synagogues. I did another one for home renovation and home construction. And I may have used up to 4 phrases, but I wouldn't go beyond that because you are going to get some duplicates when those phrases get rerun and the same company comes up twice in the search result. And then the business location. Now, in this scenario, my client is a commercial cleaning services, and they do commercial cleaning for a variety of building types and companies. They do cleanups for home renovations, small demolition cleanups. They clean warehouses, medical facilities, religious facilities. So there's a variety of building types that they provide professional cleaning services for. That being said, what I attempted to do was to give them some extra business because the owner had told me we do cold calling from time to time and had asked me, hey, do you know anyone that does cold calling? Well, no, but I do know another approach to doing cold calling. And so in this scenario, I'm attempting to do this for the client. And so we'll get a sense of hopefully how well this works, but it's a solid strategy. So in this particular case, one nice thing about this, it has this snapshot tool where you can take a snapshot when your project's done. So I accidentally overwrote this with a blank snapshot. But if I load my church's snapshot, you'll see I got a pretty good result. And I only used 2 or 3 phrases. I think there was churches, synagogues, and one other. And in any case, these will run for about 48 hours. That was like my average time. And then they would complete. And you get a nice piece of data here. You get the business names, you get the addresses, you get the phone numbers, you get the websites. And this is a really good list because, like with the construction one, there were a lot without websites, but they had phone numbers. And that's a good thing to give to the client if they want to have a good cold calling list to follow up with after this process. And for the companies that don't get covered by the contact form, using GSA website contact, and that is what I'm doing here for this client. So let me just give you a quick indicator just how easy this is to set up. Okay, so let me kill this and then reload it so it's devoid of any data. So we're starting fresh. I use 500 proxies in this, and if I was going to search my business type, say for churches, I would put that word in. Like I said, I would keep it limited 2 to 4 phrases, no more. Business location. Now here's the really nice thing. These are all the towns of which my client services. So what I did is I just took this list, took it over to ChatGPT and said, please give me all of the zip codes for these towns in the state of Pennsylvania. And bada bing, bada boom. All you have to do is put the zip codes in here and run it with your search phrases. So let me just think of something that because I actually want to start another campaign right now. So let me just think about what is the next business type I want to search. Okay, what I'm going to be running is physician, doctor, medical, dental, and dentist. That'll give me a good gambit of searches to run through the Google Maps so that I can pick up medical facilities and doctor's offices with an attempt to send a request through their contact form using GSA website contact. Now, using this approach really also lets me taper the message specifically to the industry. Now, I'm not going to run this right now because I have to do some list work after this video. But understanding that, let's say you had something that you wanted to promote to all dentists or all types of physicians or certain, or perhaps it's all to auto repair places, right? You want to get the entire state. That's when using this, the Yellow Pages Scraper plugin, is going to be a better way to go, where you'll load your proxies, you put your keywords over here, and they've got a couple of options of how you can select the locations. However, what I recommend is that you do your own locations, and this way you can load your own file with your list of towns and states. So for example, I'm in Pennsylvania, but I have master files of every state, so with a list of all the towns. So of course these would have to be like this, PA at the end, abbreviated to all of them. But that list approach works, and you can put an entire state and then run the gambit to get from the Yellow Pages all of a particular type of business. Now, on the flip side, if I want to get all of the businesses in the state of Pennsylvania, that's going to be a much larger campaign. You're going to really want to keep it down to one keyword, because when you go for the whole state, you're going to get a lot of results. It's going to take a long time. That's going to be a lot of zip codes, and most likely it's going to take a week or more. And when I first got this Google Maps scraper, I ran a few just to test, and I let them run, and they were running for like a week. So just to give you some idea. Now, to give you some idea of logistics, my end result, the first campaign I'm going to run is for home renovations. So let's do something. Let's get out of here and let's go over here where I've set up a GSA website campaign. And what I'm going to do here is something a little bit different. Now, I've loaded my proxies into here. I've got, I think I put 2,500 in, which is more than enough, because in this particular campaign, if you look close, from what I collected from all the home construction and home renovation websites for just the towns and zip codes. Oh, that's on the other computer. Sorry, guys. The final result, when I got down and after I did a check using GSA website contact, I wound up with a list just over 700. But that's still a great list, considering I'm just reaching out to all the local guys who do home renovations and home construction that have medium level construction cleanup. And so this is going to be a good pitch for them. So in this particular case, I'm testing for the first time to run the campaign with completely legitimate form-filled contents. So, in this particular case, like, my message is customized. And it's customized. Hi, I was just visiting your website. And I've got the macro in here for domain, and it'll put their website domain there. I wanted to introduce our commercial cleaning services for home construction and renovation companies like your own. Then I've got the company name, fast, friendly cleanup services at reasonable rates. I've got the name of the owner of the company and the website and phone number, which I have to gray out here. In all of the other fields, instead of doing random, I've filled the fields out with actual content with the actual address exactly like it is. Now, for this particular attempt, I want to make it look like this is a completely legitimate contact form filling out process, but there's still going to be spam filters in there. So what I did, I've got everything configured, but what I did is, for this campaign, I turned my checking and submission thread rate down to 1. Super slow. Let's go one at a time, okay? Because I want to see if I can get through with all legitimate information in all of my fields, pitching this to them. So this is actually it. I'm all ready to go. So I'm going to, excuse me, click the start button here, and hopefully everything works. Okay, let's take a look at what happened, because this was all over in a minute. And what I did is I put my thread rate up to 50 because it seemed to be hanging, and then all of a sudden it fired through. Now, out of the 709, I only got 118 successful. However, here's the deal. I realized, I went back and checked all of my GSA website contact, and I realized I never ran a check on this list. So had I run a check, the list probably would have been cut in half to around 350. And so I guess this may not be too bad as a success rate. And like I said, these are all local businesses that fit inside our zip code range. But something else may have also went wrong. I saw my captures running through here, and I saw XEvil processing captures down here. This was the last one, but I didn't get any data here. But it's such a short list, I'm not really sure, what happened here. So I have to check. There might be another issue. Now, what I'm still going to do, because I ran this project with real information inside all of the data fields. So in my submission content, I defined all real address, phone number, name, etc., and ran it straight without any use of doing anything to make it anonymous. Then what I'll do is I'll clone this campaign with anonymous settings, and I'll take the failed and I'll run those back through. So just to give you some, a little indicator of what happened, but because this list is so small, it was all over in 2 minutes. And to process so few, because normally I'm running 100K. So a couple of issues to check out why I didn't get any output here, yet clearly there were captures being processed with XEvil 6.0. So we'll see. But this is 6.077, the pre-7 version. So I'm going to have to really, get a full campaign on another system and see what's going on. So it's important to remember, this is the new approach that I'm taking, and it's got low quantities, but it's highly targeted, and I'm hopeful that we can get some good results if I can get successful submissions into local businesses that act like a cold calling process for my client. Now, let's just take a look at some other approaches to kind of get your brain working, to think about logistics and other tools that you can use with Scrapebox, like the Yellow Pages plugin, and even just using the harvester directly. Okay, so let's talk about that. And probably what you really want to do is develop a nice set of master files of all of the states and all of the towns in those states, like master list. And that's something that I did. And, you can probably Google that. I think you'll find something like maybe on GitHub or just use ChatGPT or your AI platform of choice to generate those lists for you. Okay, now let me come back over to the machine I run my Scrapebox for putting the list for the, I was using the Maps plugin. Now what I did here is I took my churches and synagogues list and I loaded it up here into GSA, and I'm going to run a check on it. So I've only got 294 sites, and I'm going to probably wind up with half once I run that. But before I take a look at that, what I really wanted to do is come back over here and take a look at some different approaches. So if we're going to use the Yellow Pages scraper, let's take a look at that interface, because I want to show you what I think is my most effective way to run it. So we would select the US Yellow Pages USA. We load our proxies into here, and we got our keywords. But here, selected locations. Now, what I want to show you is that I keep master lists of the United States. So every state, I've got a file list of all the cities. So California, you'll see all of the city and state. So this is a really good way to take advantage of this. So when I say, hey, use my own locations, I can literally open this file, take all of this. Let's go select all, copy, and oops. I'm going to use my own list. And bam. Okay? Now I've got every city and state. That's what I'm running. I'm running my own locations. Okay? Then I'm going to put my keywords in here and Shazam. We're going to run it. So this is a really good approach to utilize the Yellow Pages plugin to hone in on the specific, municipalities that you want to go for. So let's say your business is something that you need to target every type of restaurant or certain, or certain business type, but you want to get everyone in the state. That's a good way to work this plugin. Okay. Now, likewise, we can do the same thing with Scrapebox by using the merge feature. Let's take a look at that. Now, in the same case with the Yellow Pages plugin and with this approach, and you're not going to be using a ton of keywords. You want to keep it down to no more than 4, because what's going to happen is, look, if I want to scrape all of the, let's say, doctors and physicians, and maybe say medical. Let's just, let's say dental and dentist. Okay? Let's just say, I got something that is, I'm going to market just like I'm doing with this service. I'm going to be using these phrases to go after for cleaning, for medical facilities and dental and doctor's offices. Okay? But in this case, what I want to do, let's say I have something to market to all of these segments, and I want to go after every city and state. Or I can make a modified list and just put the ones, the towns in the state that I want to list, much like the way I'm using the Maps plugin. But now what we're going to do, we're going to merge it. So let's say I want to get everybody in Pennsylvania, let's say. I now use the merge. Now, here's why you don't want to overload it, because for every city and that exists in that file, it's going to be multiplied by the number of phrases. So every phrase, you got 5 phrases, that's 5 times whatever the total quantity of cities in the file is. Okay? So, and then we can go right to, harvesting with this. This is a good approach. Now, fortunately, this is really not that many. 250 keyword searches is a low number. But my point is, keep an eye on your quantities. You're not going to take a 5,000 keyword list and merge it with all of the cities in a given state. You're going to wind up with a super large list, okay, in any case. So my approach is, keep an eye on your quantities, and because if you were really looking for targeted business types, your keywords are not going to go all over the place. Maybe you're going to have 10 phrases to maybe cover a range of things that might bring results for a certain industry or business type that you want to hone in on. But just really trying to give you some insights on how to really hone in by location so you could do more targeted scraping. And of course, when you've got targeted results, you can do more targeted in your campaigns. Like the campaign that I ran for my client to the for cleaning services for construction. was, you know, a pretty straightforward message in that. Let's see if we got it. But it's tapered to their business type. So here's my message. It was self-defined. And I was just visiting your website. Got the macro for domain, which it inserts their website into this message box and when it's filling out the contact form, and wanted to introduce our commercial cleaning services for home construction and renovation companies like your own. Simple, short, sweet, that's it. The name of the company provides fast, friendly cleanup services at reasonable rates, and you can visit our website where I included the URL, or give us a call for a free quote at and the phone number and the contact name. Pretty straightforward, and then each one I'll be able to customize it to their particular industry. Now let's go back to my other system here, and I've started up Surfshark because I just wanted to show some of you guys. We were talking about this in the community. It is my recommended VPN of choice. It's full featured, it's cheap, and you can put it on as many machines as you want. It also has a rotating IP feature that you can turn on. So this way, every 5 minutes, it's going to rotate the IP address. So for running a check just on contact forms, you don't need to use proxies, but I always like to run Surfshark to give me that little, you know, a little extra layer. So I'm just going to start a check for the preset websites, let that run, and that shouldn't take too long. I'll pause the video and we'll come back and take a look. Okay, now here we are after it's done, and out of my 299, I got 95 successfully checked, and 195 failed. Not a great ratio, but this is a small quantity, so you know it's hard to say as opposed to had we got a much higher quantity. But that's what we got. Now let's take a look at something else I think you'll be interested in. Now, when I started to try to run these little micro campaigns, I was having a problem with XEvil. And it was difficult to discern what was going on because the quantities for these campaigns were so small, like only around 1 or 200, that I couldn't glean enough data to figure out what was going on. However, I wasn't the only one experiencing this. Guys in my community. So I got one of the guys to give me one of his campaigns, which actually kind of fits together with what we're doing here, because he's doing a service that targets restaurants, any type of restaurant, food, you know, takeout, Chinese food, Italian, etc. So that's a pretty broad base of things. And anyway, I got his campaign, I got his list, and I got it set up, and I figured out what's going on. So let's take a quick look at that, okay? Because this will help people get back on track. And it's a very small issue, but it leads to a big problem. Keep preventing XEvil from doing its job. Okay, this is his campaign right here. Now, he gave me all of his information, his actual campaign, his lists, and I did my own verification and cleaned his list myself, got it down to 116,000. And out of this so far, I've run 43,000 that we've got checked and successfully sent, and 14,000 failed. You got a very low filtered rate. That's a sign that it's functioning well when you don't got high filtered. And we're going to start this back up again. But the key thing that had to be changed in my previous videos, I'm pretty sure, and not just sure, although I cover both approaches, normally I recommend doing it in a chain and configuring the XEvil from the GSA capture breaker. However, that's not required. You can do it from the GSA website contact. So in this particular case, that's exactly what we have to do, because for some reason, the GSA capture breaker is not passing the captures successfully to XEvil, and as a result, when the monitor runs, you get, it's just blank data, and that's all you get. So in any case, now you can see our data here, we were running pretty well. And in addition to using GSA Capture Breaker and XEvil, I'm using anti-capture. Now I had some to CAPTCHA, but their site seems to be down all the time. I don't know what's going on with them, but they seem unreliable. Anti-CAPTCHA, I chose anti-CAPTCHA, anti-captcha.com, because they happen to be also be on the SEO Neo list, and so I wanted something that would make sure I got cross compatibility, that I can use this on there. So we're going to start this back up so you can actually see it running live, because I've still got, I'm only about halfway through this campaign, and I'm going to run the whole thing out for him. Unfortunately, he's not having a successful click-through rate because he scraped these URLs with Scrapebox, but he didn't use Google Maps plugin or the Yellow Pages plugin. So as a result, it got a lot more off base, because I noticed when I'm looking at the URLs that are coming up, many are plainly not restaurants. And so the effect for the accuracy is watered down a bit. But we're going to run this campaign out just the same. But just so you know, if you're having problems, everything works. All of my original recommendations, I'm using proxy scrape, HTTP proxies for GSA website contact, and I'm using cold proxy IPv6 for XEvil. Okay, and we're running the latest version here, XEvil 6. So let me start this back up so we can kind of see it in action here. And send. And yes. And we'll fire that back up, and now we can start seeing that it's processing, and we'll watch how that looks. And here I am. I got an anti-CAPTCHA account, and so far I probably got a high bid on this at 5. I'm going to adjust that, but right now I've spent about $4 and 40, looks like 49 cents, or 41 cents out of $50 that I cashed up with. So I'll probably make an adjustment on that, but it seems to be working pretty well. Like, at the time, it's showing a lot of 3466 tasks solved. So that seems like pretty good. So we'll see. I'm just testing these guys out, and I'll be using this with SEO Neo as well. Okay, so that being said, now you can kind of see this is how it should look when it's running. We like to see a lot of green, and we're seeing our CAPTCHA breakers triggering, where we're seeing our images coming up, we're seeing the info, we're seeing it get passed, but everything is being managed from GSA website contact. So if you're having a problem, change your CAPTCHA settings and let the GSA website contact handle all of the CAPTCHA. Okay, let's take a look at this other one, because I'm doing a little scraping for him using these phrases: dinner, diner, restaurant, Chinese food, Italian food, pizza, Mexican food, etc., etc. And in this particular one, I'm using the Yellow Pages scraper, and I'm using my own locations, which I just ran Florida. So what I want to do is show you the end result of that, because what I did is I exported it from the Excel into a text document. So I'm going to close this up, and I'm going to go import and add, and that should be here. Here we go. So now I'm going to remove this. Remove. It says I got 2390. Let me remove duplicates. 2335. Okay, so that's the final list. So obviously now this list has to go into the link extractor. So from here, I have to launch my link extractor. And this is now for general scraping, so I'm only going to want to go 2 levels. That's it. Not external links. Load from Scrapebox and start. Now, kind of general rule of thumb is the numbers tend to cut in half. So I'll get about approximately half of those sites and half again when I go to verify them. So you're really only talking about, if I'm lucky, I'll walk away with about 750. So that is the end result. Now, some of the things that I've been doing is mixing it up. Then running it instead of by town, but by zip code, and see if I get a better or different results when I combine them. And also by doing the Yellow Pages plugin versus the Google Maps and seeing where I get a better result or how much of it is different. So I like to learn in the process as I go. Now I just wanted to come back over to this system so you can take another look at it. And this is what it should look like when it's running normally. Now I'm seeing a little more red here than I would like. I like to see more green, but I also haven't checked to see if there's an update for this XEvil, something to do frequently, because I've been stretching this campaign out over like probably a 2-week period where we were just running a little bit at a time at a slow rate, and then I would stop it. I was giving him an opportunity to make some changes to his pitch, but ultimately we know that this list is not exclusively restaurants. You can get the best, scrape out of it, and doing an analysis of the actual domains that are in the list. However, he is getting some click response on this, and I cannot emphasize enough that it's all about your message and getting them to click. And you've got to experiment sometimes and try to work something that's extremely lucrative to the end user that's going to make him want to click on it. And then, of course, the rest is all happening at your landing platform, your landing page. Now, that's about going to wrap it up for this video. But it's been like 2 months since I posted the part 1 to this video. And why has it been so long? Well, unfortunately, the gas company is doing construction where they're literally ripping up the roads right in front of my house every day, working on the gas lines and then patching it up in the afternoon. And the noise has been biblical. There's been caterpillars right out in front of my house with these giant jackhammers, and they're ripping the street up. And when I say the noise is bad, not only I can't record, I can't even listen to anything. Sometimes it's difficult to just concentrate to work. And only just the last few days seems to be settling down, although today we had a few rough patches. And they are starting to permanently repave the streets, like, they were also doing on the street behind me. So sorry for the delay. But in that time, it's important to note, since my last video, Scrapebox has not come out with an update since then. So I'm hoping that my last video, they saw that and there's something going on and they're trying to get some better functionality going on with their original scraper, because, we don't need Google. We just need a couple of really good sources that we can get high quantities in a reasonable amount of time. Now, all that being said, guys, I want you to understand, when it comes to GSA website contact, it runs. This system works, and this system runs. And it runs when you follow the guidelines in my videos, and except for that recent change where you got to really just let the GSA website contact manage all of the capture breaker programs and any third-party services that you integrate. Other than that, everything seems to work fine. The other thing that's important to remember is you cannot just think you're going to get this system running and then put some kind of affiliate crap in there and expect to make money. You really got to have something rock solid. And it seems to work best when you got something that you can target any type of website business. And, AI products, that works really well. Chatbots and things along those lines, because these are hot new technologies that people want to employ in their websites. And things like that you really get the ground level of something new that you're doing or able to push on them that is going to have some real impact. And that is when this really becomes the secret to success. I see all of these AI related startups out there. They've got, the knowledge on how to, integrate AI into a number of different things, whether they're making apps or some sort of technologies that help them with their businesses or websites. And the question is, how do they market it? How do they get it out there? And this is a great approach to managing and making that sort of thing happen. Because many times, by the time these guys can develop a real web presence and SEO marketing strategy and all of that, things have changed so dramatically that maybe that product that they offer isn't that hot anymore. They're already on to other things. That's what makes using GSA website contact so lucrative. And don't forget that you can get lists from us at smartmarketing.biz. That's smartmarketing.biz. That's it for this video, guys, and hopefully now things are quieting down. I'm going to start dropping a lot of videos. And we need to have a serious discussion about AI, its perception on how you may be using or hear about it or watch about it on YouTube, and the real realities behind it, and how to really prepare yourself for the future with AI, which is going to permeate every aspect of our lives in the coming months and years. That's it for this video, guys. I'm Big Dom. This is Smart Marketing. Take care.